Hi guys, it's Becky, and today I feel like doing some wire wrapping, and I'm going to be doing it with the piece that I bought from the Gemstone Orphanage auction that they had on the Homestrung Jewelry channel a few weeks ago. It was the first time I attended one of their auctions. It was all on YouTube, where you can just, in the chat, make your bids, and then whoever had the highest bid at the end of the 2 minutes won the auction. And I was a little bit late joining, so I missed a lot of their pieces that they were auctioning. So I saw one finishing, and then right then they brought this guy out, and it was so beautiful. I was like, wait a minute, that is exactly my jam. I was like, I think I really need to have that. And I went a little nuts, but I did win the winning bid, and I was sent out this beautiful piece, and they sent up a little dress-up bag to go with it. It is fossil coral, and we've got a little bit of information. There was another sheet that had other information, but this one's a little bit smaller, so it stays with it a little bit easier. It's created when prehistoric coral is replaced with agate. They are marine animals, and their skeletons are fossilized and preserved. It takes over 20 million years to make this. So it is agatized coral, but it also goes by the name chrysanthemum stone, as you can see. It's got those there. Most of it's found in Indonesia and the USA, in Florida and Georgia. Those stuff from Indonesia is thought to be the most unique and desirable. And the Floral State Legislature designated agatized fossil coral as its state stone in 1979. All right, some civilizations believed the life force or spirit of the animal is stored in the stone, which is pretty cool. But then we got our little dress-up bag with it. Let me pull out what we have in it, because I'm going to be using the dress-up bag to make a necklace with it, and I'm going to want to make some decisions about that. It has these rice beads with like this rainbow iris coating on it, AB crystal rice. Those are 6x4 mm. There's a bag with some clasps and a pinch bail. So I mean, I could just real easy plop this pinch bail on there and we're ready to go, make a necklace with it. But I was sort of inspired to do some wire wrapping with this, so I'm going to be doing that instead. But I am definitely going to want to use the heart toggle, so I'm going to set that over there. And then we got these really pretty nugget pearls. These are freshwater pearl nuggets. There are 12 of them, and they are between 9 and 10 millimeters, and they are a nice like magenta-y color, which I'm not sure I'm going to use it, because most of the colors here is either this light pink or this fuchsia color, and I'm not sure it's going to go. But if I don't use it for this, I might use it for like a bracelet. I think this would make a gorgeous bracelet with a few other beads on it. And then we had some really light, like ballerina pink. I don't know if you can see the color that well without something lighter behind it. More crystal. So let's see, there was the cherry blossom agate, which is this. I like the fact that you've got some bits that have like the dark inclusions, and then you've got others that are this lighter, dreamier pink. And I think that that will actually go really well with it. And then there were these rose quartz spears. And since I haven't really finalized my design, I'm not sure if I'm going to be using these or not in what the rest of the necklace looks like. And if I don't use them in this, I will probably use them in something else. I thought they were beautiful to go with. Maybe I'll use them in an earring set. I don't know. We've got these spears that are nice and shiny. And then they're light pink crystal discs. They're 8x6 millimeter. They are super sparkly. And there's like just some little crystal colored 8Os in between them. And then we've got these twisted rounds. And the twisted rounds, I don't know if you can see the cut, but the faceting goes in a spiral all the way around from one side to the other in them, and they are beautiful. So I know for sure that I want to use these crystals in the necklace part and the gemstone, and I'm probably going to set those two aside. So I think this is going to be my, like, I'm really leaning heavily towards like the light pink sort of color scheme, but then I've got these like fuchsia 11-0s from my bead stash that I think will add some little pops of that bright pink color that we see in the coral if I use these as some spacers in between some of these beads. That's my idea. But there are also a few other beads that came in here. There's this bead mix, and in this little bag of gemstones there's a rhodonite focal, and I'll probably be using this with these for a totally different necklace. Or I might use it for a bracelet and have this be like a focal bead with a bracelet. Something that I could use that for. And then we've got these rose quartz faceted ovals. There are 4 of them. So they might actually get used. And actually, no. You know what? I think the rhodonite and the rose quartz ovals are going to stay out. But because we've got some of these darker pinks in here with these, I think I'm going to use the Impression Jasper rondelles here, because we've got some of these darker pinks, and I think it's going to go better with these all together. And again, this is more magenta color. These stone tubes, they've been dyed fuchsia, but it's a little bit of a redder color than this pink. This is like opera rose kind of pink if you're looking at paint colors. So yeah, I think I've got what I'm going to use to put together, and I haven't decided if I'm going to do a strung necklace or a chain link necklace. I probably will do stringing because of the amount of beads that I want to incorporate. It'll fit better with it that way. Let me stick these other guys, get them cleared out of the way, and put these up here again out of the way so that I can work on my wire wrapping. So for wire wrapping, I'm going to be using some 20 gauge wire, and I just have this silver color, and then I'm going to wrap with it with some 26 gauge wire that, like, never say never, guys, because when I first started wire wrapping, I made some, when I first started making jewelry, I made some weird purchasings that didn't quite go with what I was expecting to be able to do. Like I got some 26 gauge wire because I didn't know enough about gauges and what I was doing, and I was like, oh hey, I can't follow any of these wire wrapping tutorials that I see on YouTube because like the wire that I was using was just way too small. But also this color here that came, I can't even remember where I got this from, but it is not rose gold. This is pink. And so I was like, oh, that's way too pink. I mean, it's just pink colored wire. It's not like rose gold. It didn't have those orangey undertones that you had with rose gold, but it is a really, really nice pink that will go really well with some of these other softer pinks that are in there. So I'm going to be wrapping my silver wire with this. And I know usually when you do wrapping, you want to use wire that gives you a little bit more of a contrast, but I think it's going to look really great together. So that's what I'm going to be doing. And then since I just decided stringing, where is it? Where did it go? Oh, there it is. All right. So I've got some pink tourmaline wire for stringing, and I think that will actually, because it's colored beading wire and a lot of the beads that I'm using are sort of see-through, it'll just add a little extra pink pop to the beads while they're on their string. So I'm going to set that aside over here, and I'm going to pull off my craft wire for my focal. And I like to work out the kinks in my wire before I start working with it while I'm pulling it off. And I do that by bending it around my thumb and then bending it around my finger the other direction. And it really helps straighten it out. You can use, if you've got some nylon jaw pliers, they will also straighten this out really well and also help warm up the wire and make it easier to work with. But I'm going to want about, I think, about between 20 and 22 inches of wire. So there's a little bit, and it's going to be kind of being whacked along here while I'm warming this up. So hopefully it doesn't hit this guy. All right, so this is 15 inches wide, so I need about 5 more inches. I'm just measuring along the sides of my... It's useful to know the dimensions of the tools that you're using, because you can use them then instead of pulling out a ruler. You can use them when you're doing your things. All right. So now I've got my wire. I've worked out most of my kinks on it. And I'm going to just find the middle, and it doesn't have to be the exact middle because my ends are going to be staggered anyway. So the middle-ish, and that's about a good place for me to grab that middle part from. And I'm just going to give myself a real sharp bend right here in the middle. Just a real sharp bend. I'm going to kind of curve my wire away from itself because this isn't as sharp as it could be, and I don't want the wire getting in the way of me sharpening this bend right here. I'm very gently squeezing slowly just to sharpen this bend a little bit more. Whoop! And there it is, twisting, because I don't want it. Being gentle. There we go. So now I have a sharp bend there. And I'm going to take, did I already tell you about my tools? I might have flashed them. Let's talk about tools again, just in case. I have flush cutters to cut my wire. I have some chain nose pliers for when I do my delicate wire working. I have some flat nose pliers that help with sharper bends, that help with tamping down to be able to work harden some of the shapes that I'm making. And that's what I mainly use these for when I'm doing it. I have some round nose pliers. I don't know that I'll be using them until but just for a little bit of the wire working. And then I've got some bail making pliers, and I'll be using these a little bit later. But yeah, those are my tools for those. And because I'm going to be doing bead stringing, I've got a magical crimper that I'm going to be using to crimp my crimp tubes on. But for right now, we're still wire wrapping. So I'm going to start, hold this point, and I'm going to start bending this away from this to make kind of a V shape. At this point, now that we've got a little V there, with this little divot right there in the middle, I'm going to take my bail making pliers, and on my smallest round, and if you're using round nose pliers, if you don't have bail making pliers, you can still do this with round nose pliers. You just find a part of the round nose pliers that you like the size of the circle on, And then just remember to go back to that same spot for the second side. But again, I like this because it helps me with consistent curves. And I'm not curving this all the way around. It's more like a C shape. My wire goes towards the middle on that same line of curve. This is going to be the middle, and it's going towards that. So I just pinched it right here and curved it around this part of my pliers. I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. Whoop. If I can do that without being too klutzy about it. There we go. Yeah, I'm going to curve that one around that end. See, like that. And what am I making? A little heart. Because I'm just really feeling hearts lately. I am super duper feeling hearts. All right, so now I've got my heart shape right here. I'm just pulling these a little bit to adjust the shape slightly. And right here where they join, I'm going to want my wires to be parallel to each other. So I'm bending this. If I'm holding this in my thumb, I'm going to bend this back towards my face. And then I'm going to do that with this other side right here. I'm going to bend it so it's going in the same direction that this wire is. So now I've got, looks like a golf club from the side, and it's a little wonky. And this is the part where I like to grab my wide nose pliers for, because that's going to help me straighten that guy out. It's going to help me kind of work harden my shape right there so it won't deform. And while I'm holding this, I can pull both of these wires together so they stay parallel. And now that has flattened that out nicely. It's a much better shape. And now I can start putting this on the front of my stone. Now I already checked before I started this that 2 20 gauge wires would fit comfortably in the hole of this gemstone. You never want to force wires through a hole in a gemstone or a glass bead. If they fit comfortably, you're going to be just fine. Again, you never want to force it. Forcing things, it's like love and farts and wire wrapping. If you have to force it, it's probably shit. All right, so now I've got my little heart up at the top. Just going to give it a little bend here. I'm not going to bend it all the way back until after I finish the rest of this. Now, the rest of this is going to be sort of the fun part. And I'm doing it while this is in here because after I wrap the other part, I won't be able to fit this through the hole. So I put this in first, and now I'm going to grab my 26 gauge wire and somewhere, somehow find my end. And I'm going to leave it on the spool. I know it can get a little complicated when you do that, but that way, and I don't care if this twists around, it's fine because we're going to be putting it in the right place and in the right direction at the end of this. So it can twist, it can do whatever it wants. And again, making sure that this fits comfortably means that it can move, so it can twist around and it's not going to be awkward and weird while you're doing it. So that can go wherever it wants, do what you want to do, go where you want to go. I'm going to take my wire here, and I'm just pinching both this wire, and I've got it upside down so that I can start this without that part being in the way. And I'm pinching it here with this finger, and I'm pinching this side with this finger, and I've also got that 26 gauge wire underneath this finger so that it's holding it. And this is a little bit awkward, but because it's a little on the long side, but I'm just going to take my wire and I'm going to wrap around both of these 3 times and push with my fingernail to get a nice wrap there. I'm not pulling this wire tight, not too tight anyway. But now I've got my 3 wraps there. I don't have to hold on to that anymore. And I can rotate this and see how there's some space there. Just going to take my pliers and move that back down there so it's closer to the edge of my guy there. All right, now I want these to still be parallel, but I am going to need a little bit of space between them while I'm wrapping, because I'm going to come up around the first wrap and then between them. So I'm going between both of these edges. And then I'm just using my finger on the side, give it a little twist. And I'm going to wrap 1 up around the top and then between, 2 up around the top and then between, 3. And if your wrap is a little bit loose, I'm just going to scooch in a little bit closer so you can see. See how there's some space right there before you move on to the next? Very gently. You're not going to be like pressing or squeezing with these. I'm just putting them on the wire next to that wrap and just scooching it a little bit. There we go. Just to tighten it up. It's not necessary, but I just like the way it looks. Okay, so now that I've done 3 wraps on my top wire, I'm going to move down and do 3 wraps on my bottom wire. I'm going to go around that bottom wire and then into the middle and scooch down around my bottom wire, into the middle, and scooch down around my wire, into the middle, and scooch down. And again, my wrap's not super neat. That's okay, because you can come in with your wires and kind of tighten that up a little bit. Now that I've done 3 wraps there, I'm going to move my wire under my work and over the top of my top wire. And then I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 wraps. And now I keep moving out of frame, but that's because I'm trying to get my wire around this long end on the other side. Scooch them. And then move these a little bit closer if I can. To the other side and go 1, 2, 3, and then up around the back and around the front, into the middle again. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to scooch back so you can see like the whole movement, because I know I'm moving out of frame when I do this. And in fact, let's just get a much wider view of this whole thing right here. And now you get to a view of all of the stuff that I have on the sides of my desk. I'm just going to tighten up this wrap just a little bit. Now this is on the back of it. Nobody's going to really see it. So it doesn't matter that that's tight or not. But I've got these as parallel as I can make it right here, but they're a bit far apart over here on this side. So I just finished wrapping my 3 loops on the top. I'm scooching this in to make it a little bit tighter. And now I'm going to go around my lower wire. And I'm always wrapping from the bottom to around the bottom to go to my next side. So 1, 2, and 3. So now I've got my 3 wraps there. I can move up to my upper wire. So it goes under the bottom and around over the top. And then into the middle, 1, 2. This is a little too bendy. I'm having to make bigger movements than I want to on this. 3. And for some reason, for me, the wrap that's closest to me is always looks a little bit better, and the wrap that's furthest from me is always just a little, it needs a little extra finesse and zhuzh. So now I finished my 3rd, I'm still going under the bottom of my wrap and up over my next one. So I go to 1, 2, 3, and then under and over the top wire, where I go 1, 2, 3. You see what I mean about the ones that are furthest from me always end up a little bit more. You need to smoosh them together better. There we go. I just plopped my fingernail on the wire to push against with my pliers so that it's not smushing the whole wrap down with the rest of these wraps. So I want there to still be that space. I want to still see the silver wire between the pink when I do that. So I'm gonna need to just move this a little bit because I've got a kink forming in my wire and I don't want that. So, you know, keep an eye on your smaller wire, make sure you're not getting kinks in it. So I'm just gonna keep going till I get to about 7 centimeters, not inches, 7 centimeters. And yeah, like this is centimeters over here on my measurement thing. So when it's about that long, that's what I want. I think that's about 3 1/4, 3.5 inches, something like that. It's hard sometimes for me to convert between metric and imperial in my head, but yeah, that's about that long. Okay, so I have my 7 centimeters of wrapping done. It's actually a little bit longer than 7, but not by much. And it doesn't matter where I stop on this. I'm gonna leave this attached to the spool because it's possible that after I do my next bit of wrapping, I may want to do a little bit more of this, or I may not. It all depends on how satisfied I am with how much of this I have left, and then where I want to go next. So after I do my wrapping, I'll show you how to end this part. But for now, I'm just gonna go ahead and leave this on here. And in fact, just to make it a little bit easier for me, I'm gonna disconnect that and just leave this much for, because if I do need to wrap a bit extra, it's not gonna be that much more. So that's gonna make it a little bit easier for this going forward, so it's not making kinks and this isn't getting in the way. So for this, I'm going to want a loop, and then I'm also going to be using the rest of this wrap to kind of keep this from swinging around, because this will hold it, the hole, it'll be there, but I need a loop so that when I string it, it'll have something to hold onto that string from. And so I am almost decided on how I want to do this. I think I want to go around the front of it. And for loop size, I think I'm going to go with this 3rd step down in my bail making pliers. If you're using round nose pliers, that's probably going to be closer to the end of your barrel for that size. I'm just going to pop this guy right in front of here, about there. And you notice how there's some space between the top of the stone and where I'm going to start bending this? That's on purpose. All right. This is going to go around and towards the back of my pliers, but also I just need to, I don't want to bend this forward and back too much because I don't want to weaken the metal. So I'm just moving it a little bit out of the way, not very much, just a little bit out of the way, so that when I pull this around the back of my loop, that isn't in the way. So now that I've got that there, I'm going to keep holding on to this loop so that it doesn't get misshaped or misformed. And I'm just going to turn this to the side like I'm wrapping a loop. And I'm going to put it between the heart and this loop, right across the top of this bail, and then smoosh this towards the middle slightly. And I'm going to use my thumb to push this and curve it over here to the side. Just a little bit. Whoop. Where you going, buddy? I just want it to be down the side, just to emphasize the curvature. I'm using my finger. There we go. Now I may need to do a little more shaping, but for the most part, I should have myself a nice bail. And I'm holding this and I'm gonna push my heart back against this to kind of help holding this in place. Keep it from moving around like that. Actually, maybe I do want this to go around the back. Yep, I'm going to want it to go around the back a little bit. Well, this faces the front. And then this side. I'm going to hold gently the wire here. Maybe not. Yep, it looks like I'm going to go around another time. And this is why I didn't take that off of there. Move my heart carefully. Put that in there. All right. Now I'm just going to do a little more wrapping down the side of this. I think that's going to be enough. So what I'm going to do is keep these guys right next to each other and straight. And I'm going to go around both of these. At the same time. Straight, 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 guys. Straight, straight, straight. Actually, let's go ahead and hold them together. It's going to need to end on that side. I'm also going to just give it a little tamp right there to straighten that out. Cut off my extra guy. Round that out. Now I can bend this down here. And I'm going to make some coils. So let me see, I want about that much for my coil. So I'm going to cut my end flush. And this is what I use my round nose pliers for. I want the coil to curve this way towards this stuff. So right at the very end, I'm going to grasp right there at the very, very tippy end of my round nose pliers. I'm going to just do a real tight little circle. Like that. Then I'm going to switch to my wide nose pliers, and I'm going to curl this guy up slowly, a little bit at a time. Just kind of pressing the coil into my thumb. As we coil up towards the stone. So there we are with that one. A heart, a coil, and I think that one's a little too high for me, so I'm just going to scooch it down there. That's fine, I can put them anywhere I want. And now this other bit, I'm just going to curve this around the back for the fun of it. Bring it around the front here. I'm just pressing with my fingers to make sure that's where I want it. See how one of them comes in the front and then the other one comes around the back? And I'm going to want my coil to go this way. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it about there. I'm estimating with my eyeballs. You can measure it if you want. You want at least 3 inches of wire for a coil if you're going to have multiple coils like that. So since I want this coil to go that way, I'm going to start my curl this way with my round nose pliers. Just a real tight circle. Keep going around until you can't go anymore without squishing both sides of this wire together. And then you can switch over to chain nose pliers. Also work for this, by the way. You can hold it there and go like this. I just discovered after I got these that they work so much better for coils. So that's why I like to use it. Again, you can do it with just chain nose pliers. So maybe this is too fancy. Maybe I should have just left this coral, the way it was. But I think I really like it like this. And see how that kind of curves? I'm just going to bend this against it a little bit, just to help hold it. All right, so now I've got my focal for my necklace. Let's get some of these guys out here and start figuring out how we want this to go. Okay, so we're going to be in the middle here. I definitely want to use these guys in here, but I also want some of these. And I want some sparkle. You know, I might not use those beads. I may just stick with these and these and these. That might be what I'm gonna end up doing. All right, so let's get these guys unstrung. I'm gonna figure out my repeat. You know, I like to do patterns when I do these. I think there's gonna be one of these somewhere in between these. Got a lot of the ones with the inclusions over there. Let's swap some of these around. All right. Let's scooch those over there so that we can spread out the design a little bit over here on this side. And let's go ahead and get our sparkly beads off of here. And because it's not an asymmetrical necklace, I need to have an even amount or the same amount of beads on each side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, and then I've got one extra one here. Let's set that aside. It could maybe go in a bracelet or something. But I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of these. One, two, three, 4 of those. So perhaps I may have more left over than I thought. Okay. So yeah, if that one is before this one, and then maybe we can do this one after that. Let's try it. Also, will this rondelle, yeah, it'll keep that in its place. All right, so same thing with these guys. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those. 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. And then this. These 11Os for spacers. Yes, I'm here for it. I think that should be enough beads, and if not, we can just do some of these guys behind the neck, because I think we still have enough of those, like instead of these, to keep the pattern sort of going with that. So if I pull off enough wire for, actually, let's start on this end and then I can cut off some of that. Now I'm going to probably want about maybe 3 of the 11Os in the middle right there underneath this. So these 11Os will be spacing each of these rondelles on either side. Oh, you know what? And I think the 3 between each of these beads is going to be great. So instead of like a single seed bead, to have like 3 of them. Let's try that. 1, 2. This end is a little bit flattened. So I'm going to take my wire cutters and I'm actually going to cut it at an angle because that will go into the seed bead a lot cleaner when I go to pick them up. 1, 2, 3. I actually picked up that tip from Cassandra Spicer. She does a lot of designs with seed beads and soft flex. So when you've got this thicker wire, if you cut it at an angle, it makes it easier to string your seed beads on there. So I've got 3 seed beads and the crystal rondelle, 3 seed beads and a gemstone. So I think this is going to be my pattern. So 3 more. I'm going to want to mirror it, and I don't know why this keeps turning off while I'm in the middle of using it. Like, it has power. Does it have a timer? I'm going to need to figure that out. And then the twist bead. Honestly, look at this. Yeah, I'm really glad I pulled out those fuchsia beads because it carries these bright pinks up the length of this, but then we also get these really light pinks as well from the beads. That was good planning, Becky. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, when I saw this, I was like, that is exactly my jam. I don't care what it costs. I'm gonna have to have that. And I went ahead and bid. I actually kind of overbid because I was afraid someone else would swoop in at the last minute and outbid me. So I did like 3 bids in a row when I was done. And you know, they only charged me the lower bid because I was like, no, nobody should outbid me on this. All right, so this is my repeat. This is what I'm going to repeat up the length of my guy. I've got my 3 seed beads, and then the rondelle, and then 3 seed beads, and which one is this? The rose, no, these are cherry blossom agate, and then 3 seed beads, and the twist bead, and then 3 seed beads, and the this is jasper, impression jasper. It's dyed pink, but yeah, so it's gonna just go up along the rest of the necklace up that way. Should keep going. So I'm going to string the rest of these and then check my length and see where we're at. And when I'm done, I will come back and join you then. All right, so I have strung up the repeats that I had laid out, and it is just a little bit short. I just need about that much more length on it, and that's going to be enough for like another like half a repeat. So instead of this full repeat, I'm just going to take this last half and repeat that, because I am out of the impression jasper. I'm out of that. So I'm going to pick up this cherry blossom agate, put another one of these guys on here, and some more of the seed beads, and another twisty bead, and that should be, okay, that's long enough for me. If you guys have been on this channel, you know I like a short necklace. So I'm going to pull not all of the wire. I want to leave myself about maybe 4 or 5 inches over here on this side of wire. And I'm going to pop my little bead stopper on, and actually, yeah, I can, let me just add these for the time being. I'm just going to put 5 of these on here, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just for fun. And just so I know that's the end, and I'm going to pop this on here. I could go ahead and attach one end of my clasp to that, but I don't know if I'm going to change my mind and want to add more to it or not. I might. I always reserve the right to change my mind when I'm doing designing and making my necklaces. So now that I've got that, I'm going to want about, well, if I hold this and stretch it over here, about that same length for the other side. So I'm going to cut this off, and now I can start stringing the other end of my necklace. But before I do that, I am going to put my focal on. You guys can't even see what I'm doing. I'm going to put my focal on. I strung that up there. Oh boy. I got a different swing arm, one that doesn't have the springs on it, so it doesn't resonate when I'm talking. Like, I had taped it down to keep the resonance from going through before, but I don't know that it was doing that for everything. So I got a new swing arm, and it hits a different spot on my desk, and it's a little harder to adjust. So I'm moving my bead mat to where the camera is, but sometimes it means that I forget and I'm close to my face a little bit. So I apologize for that, just right off the bat. So let's do this on this end. And so I'm just going to follow the same pattern, just mirroring what I did on this side all the way up to the end. And then when I get to the end, we will put on our clasp, and this necklace will be finished. So let me get the other end strung up exactly the same way, and I'll meet you back here when I'm done. Okay guys, so I've got both ends strung. This is exactly the right length for me to wear. If I wanted to make it longer, I could just do a couple more repeats of the cherry blossom agate and these twisted rounds just up the sides if I wanted it longer, but I don't want it longer. This is the perfect length for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and do some crimping. I've got my magical crimper, and this works best with 2x2 crimp tubes and 0.018 to 0.019 wire. That's why I like using this beading wire. It works great with these 2x2 crimp tubes that are also soft flex crimp tubes. They never fall apart on me. Just never fall apart on me. But I like using this because I can do a taco crimp, but then you have to put crimp covers on them so you don't get like the edges of those crimps digging into your skin. And I'm not that good with crimp covers, and this just makes a nice little round ball. So that's why I use it. It's just my favorite way of crimping. It works great for me. Oof. And I just lost one of my little beads, so I'm going to pop that back on there so it's nice and even. All right, and now I've got my crimp tube. It's going to slide down there right next to the end of my beads. Put on one end of my clasp. And I'm going to go bend this back and to go through my crimp tube. And this can be close or far away. It's the first crimp. It doesn't matter that much. I want to make sure that I've got some articulation still with my the end of my clasp. I don't want it so tight that it can't move, because especially with toggle clasps, they're very difficult to get on and off if the toggle part especially can't articulate correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and place this right there in this divot. It's like this little concavity inside of here. Place my crimp inside of that, give it a squeeze. It's going to flatten it out, except for that middle part where it's bulbous, like a ravioli. And then I turn it at a different angle and give it another squeeze, and then turn it at a different angle and give it another squeeze. And it's going to look real messed up until you've gone around and hit it from like every angle that you can and given it a squeeze, because what it's doing while you're doing that is the round parts of the edges are smooshing down the hard edges, the corners of that crimp, and turning it into a nice little crimp bead that is very secure. So I'm gonna go ahead and just snip off the end of my wire here, and going to scooch that up there, but also curve my wire a little bit, because I don't want this to be so tight that the necklace is stiff. I want it to still be able to like lay nicely on my neck. So curving it before I crimp my last one will give it that leeway so it's not a super tight guy. And here we go. I've got my crimp right here next to my beads. I'm going to not forget, like I was about to put the end of my toggle on there. I almost did it. I almost had you guys yelling at me. And I'm going to bend that back through here. And I can't get two strands through these beads, and that's fine. That is okay. So we're going to scooch that up there. It still has a lot of articulation. Still has a little more articulation. Let's scooch it out a little bit more. And then, because there needs to be some space between the crimp and this bead here, I want there to be some space between them, because I don't want to crush my bead here at the end with this. So I just wiggled my fingernail in between this bead and that gives me enough space and enough room that when I go to do my crimping, move out of the way, buddy. Oh no, that's too much. That's too much space. Scoot you back down. There we go. I go to do my crimping. That bead is on the outside of the crimp and not inside the crimp. Sorry, the crimping pliers. So when I squeeze it, it's not going to break that bead. And there it goes. It doesn't always look like a pretty ravioli the first time you crimp it. A lot of times it does, but sometimes it doesn't. And all you have to do is just keep rotating it. Hit it from as many angles as you can. Just keep going around and around. And eventually you'll get a little crimp bead. And it's okay if it's not perfectly spherical, but it should be secure and you shouldn't feel any rough edges. Like I said, I've never had these crimps fall apart on me. They can take that. All right. So let's moment of truth. Let's find out if the toggle. Yes, it has plenty of mobility. And this necklace is perfect because I was using the heart here and I wanted to have a little heart here. I'm feeling hearts lately, which I guess this is the right season for it, to feel hearts and everything. But with these pinks, it just was giving me this real romantic vibe. So that's why I wanted to wire wrap like this. I hope you guys had fun watching this. And if you haven't checked out the Homestrung Jewelry channel, go check them out. They're the ones that do the Gemstone Orphanage subscription box, but they also have a lot of other things available on their site, and they do some great tutorials themselves with wire wrapping, by the way. So I hope you guys are having a great day and a great weekend. Bye!